About time we saw some sea again.
Stand by. Hard. 20 degrees, starboard bow.
Stay good and alert. Coastline's far from safe. The British know exactly when we ship out. Always plenty of informers. Dock workers, cleaning women, whores.
Well, that was a clip from a German film entitled The Boat, which is currently on release in London. The film is set during World War II and follows the progress of a U-boat mission from the departure at the French port of La Rochelle to the hunting grounds in the North Atlantic, where the submarine attempts to sink convoy ships crossing from America. Apart from being an exciting wartime drama, the film depicts atrocious conditions aboard the vessel, and in this respect the boat is certainly an anti-war film. It went on to become the most commercially successful picture in the history of German cinema. In the studio today, I'm very pleased to have with me the film's director, Wolfgang Petersen, and the leading actor, Jürgen Prochnow, who plays the part of the U-boat captain. Welcome to Imperial College, gentlemen. I'd like to begin with you, if I may, Wolfgang, by asking you, what was the basis for the film The Boat? For example, was it adapted from a book?
Yes, it was adapted from a book called, the same title, called The Boat, Das Boot in Germany. It was published in '73 in Germany with a huge success. It was a big bestseller in Germany. And it's not fiction, you know, it is a true story. It is, you can say, it's a kind of a diary of a very young war correspondent of that time, Lothar Günther Buchheim. And, well, that's it. It's so it all happened.
So the chap who wrote the book actually, he went down into the, had some experience of it.
Yes, he I think 2 or 3 patrols.
Yes, he went out for several patrols on a submarine during World War II as a war correspondent, like Wolfgang explained, and I think several, yes, and he put his experience together to that one book. He published it in '73 in Germany.
It's very interesting that he was not the let's say the normal war correspondent. He was a painter.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was not writing. He was painting.
His job was to paint special scenes from inside a submarine or things like that.
From after seeing the film, it looks as if you've in fact recreated an entirely full-scale model of a U-boat. Did you in fact do this?
I can tell you we had 5 submarines.
5, yes.
5. And, well, we need one boat of original length for the outside scenes, 67 meters long. And the next one was for the interiors. And that was, I think that is a great thing. It is a perfectly reconstructed submarine of this 7C type of the World War II. And I think in Germany, in the Bavaria studios, they worked about 1.5 years on that to recreate, reconstruct it.
And it looked as if the walls were in place as well.
Yes, it was a tube. It was a real submarine inside, not able to swim, but to dive things, but for the inside. But it was a tube like that.
So, Jürgen, what was it like to act in it? Did you in fact get the impression of what it must have been like in a U-boat?
Yes, you see, and it was not only an hour or a day, or let's say a week or a month. It lasted for 7 months, the inside shooting, yes, and for the outside we had another 3 or 4 months. So we were shooting almost a year, you see, for that movie, and but especially the inside work was very, very hard, yes. And it was, well, let's say after that, after we had finished this work, we have got a little bit of the experience what it meant to be for people going out on a patrol on a submarine like that, yes. Yeah.
Have you spoken to many people who have actually been down on U-boat patrols during the war and who've seen the film, and you've had their reaction? What has their reactions been to the film?
Yeah, I think first of all when they heard about the plan to make submarine film, especially on the basis of that book, I think a lot of people from the old submarines said, "Oh, these kids can't do that because kids, you know, we were born in '41, so no kids, but too young to have any experience. And in their eyes, we are kids without any experience in that, and we can't do that and things like that." But I can tell you, after the film was finished and they saw the film, we had a big discussion on German television with these people, and they were very, very shocked about that. What they saw, they say it's unbelievable. It's exactly how it was, and because it's not because we are, you know, of course we had to go to research and things like that, but we have had all the time two advisors, old submariners, and they told us everything about this very strange world inside a submarine, what's going on with the engines and instruments and how to move and to walk there, how to speak with the orders, commands, and all these things. So that was worthwhile, and well, I think it's quite real what you see on the screen.
At one part,
yes, of course, we wanted to come as close to the reality as possible, of course, and therefore we asked everything, and we had to do a big research during the whole shooting time, because we didn't know anything, like Wolfgang said, and so we asked them every day, every question, and they could answer us every question, as you see, because you have to know everything about a submarine, and it's a very complicated weapon, and it's more a weapon than it is a boat, and it's a narrow tube, and it's not made for people.
Okay, well, let's have a look at another clip from the boat. In fact, this is a clip which shows some of the living conditions experienced by the crew when they were at sea.
Vegetable garden, the fish store, where we maintain and store the torpedoes.
Come over here!
Heads up, you slobs! You're going to be in the papers!
Thank you, men.
Come on, follow me. Here we have the sit house. Just one for 50 men. The others full of provisions. First we have to think about eating, then about crapping. Logical, no? This is the Chief Petty Officer's quarters, my home away from home. This is the wardrobe. Hey, you guys, get this stuff in the locker.
We brought plenty of books along. Hope you like adventure stories.
You have it really cozy here.
Oh, where are you, Lieutenant?
Coming. Excuse me, please.
Oh, careful. This is the radio and hydrophone shack. The eyes and ears of the boat.
Who's that little jerk off?
Here is the control room. The boat's command post. Huh? Okay.
Thank you.
Hang them higher. I want these instruments accessible. Morning, Lieutenant.
Here we got the Petty Officer's quarters.
And you know what? She didn't speak a word of the other.
Hey, you guys, clean up. You got a visitor.
Morning, Lieutenant.
Morning, Lieutenant.
Morning, gentlemen.
So, this is where the Petty Officer's bunk. Sleeps 12 men. We've got to share out each bunk between 2 men in rotation, see? As soon as a guy comes off watch, he's got to climb into the other guy's stink, eh? Here, this bunk's just for you. Go wonder yourself, as you're a guest on board, see?
Here, Lieutenant. That's all for you. And here's your escape gear. Very important.
It's only for show. Comes in useful in the shower, huh?
The mask helps out when the diesel stinks.
Oh, man, French and farts! Okay, come on. This is our galley. And here's Johann, our phantom.
What?
Well, Johann, all ready for action?
Well, looking at that clip, one of the things that impressed me most of all was the way the camera tracked through the U-boat very smoothly. How in fact is that
I
created?
think this clip is a good example for that, to demonstrate that. Well, when we decided to, first of all, I can tell you, when we decided to shoot the whole film inside the submarine without opening it, like a normal film decoration, it was closed all the time. When we decided that, we had to ask the cinematographer, is that possible for you to work there? Because it's mainly his job. It's for us difficult, but especially for him, it's a problem in this, in this situation to work there. And he constructed he said yes, and he constructed his own stabilization system for his normal Arriflex hand camera. So what you saw here, and the whole film is a hand camera film.
So, yeah.
Yeah, because there's no space for anything, with the normal facilities of the camera. It's just this hand camera with his own stabilization system. So it is, as you
A gyroscope, was it?
gyroscope,
Yes.
2 gyroscopes
Yes.
he put in. So it is very smooth, and you don't feel it that this is hand camera, but it is hand camera. And so he worked inside that, the whole film with that. And his assistant, for example, he was behind him. It was a long file with the assistant, and he could make the focus there because it was no very often no space for two people, you know, especially when in scenes like that, when he runs through the whole boat from the very end to the very top of the boat and jumps through the, if you remember that, he jumps through the holes there. So he did it that way. And then with high-speed lenses, high-speed film material, and not normal studio lamps, no space for that, just the ordinary normal lamps in the submarine, that was all. And I think it looks great. I think he did a wonderful job. Very good.
Jürgen, at one point in the film we hear propaganda messages from Göring coming over the radio. How representational do you think that was of the Germany at that later stages of the war?
You mean the reaction of the
crew jeered and hissed at this message when it came over?
Do you mean the reaction of the captain and the crew?
Yeah.
Well, I can only believe in what I was told, you see, and they say it was that's representative like it was on a submarine, and the reaction of the captain. He was a professional, and he was not, let's say, a Nazi. And lots of the people in the submarine, they weren't Nazis. They were soldiers, of course, and they were fighting this in this war for Hitler. But they weren't Nazis, you see. I think 20% of the whole German population, they were members of the Nazi party. And by this, you know that perhaps only a small percentage they were Nazis. And I think it was like that perhaps what they told us, that one or two members of the crew, they came from a Nazi school or so. And so I think it's absolutely right and autobiographical like it was.
It was a little bit the typical behavior of the submariners in Germany, especially of commanders like that. They call it in the film der Alte, the old man. He was with 30 years. He was one of the oldest commanders at that time. And that was a little bit the behavior, to be a little bit, you know, more in a distance to the normal military scene in Germany. You know, far away out in the sea, a little bit more freedom, a little bit more. They feel a little bit more sophisticated than the normal scene. So it is. I think it's typical, this little bit
the behavior. And he noticed, of course, through his experience outside in the sea, that there weren't any planes to help them and anything like that, or other boats or destroyers or so on, and the other submarines. And it didn't work like the propaganda announced it. And so he could say that, you see, because he was a professional. He knew, he was out already on several other patrols, so he knew everything, I think, about the fact and how it was, and therefore he could say that.
I said earlier on that the film was the most successful, commercially successful picture ever made in Germany. Why do you think it's been so successful? Why have the German public flocked to see it? Yes.
I think it is the first film in Germany ever made after the war about the Second World War, of our point of view, our side, about German soldiers. We had just one very good, very famous film in the 50s called The Bridge, Die Brücke, by Bernhard Wicki. That was a bit of difference because that was a film about a group of very young kids fighting against an American tank at the very, very end of the war. But our film is about the center of the war in 1941, about a very famous weapon like submarines, about people working, living, fighting inside a submarine. That's, I think, the first film dealing with that war time. And so for us all, because that was a decision for us to make the film, because we thought when the book was there, they said that's the first time we have a chance to do it and to make a film about not about, you know, all the time about discussing our guilt in the war and everything that. It is very important to do that, but on the other hand, I think more and more we have to think about what happened in the reality there.
To find out a little bit of truth.
And to see in our film, like, you know, it's not a typical war movie. It's a film about human beings in the war, about very young people. I think it's a film about kids going out on a patrol and they come back as old men. And what does that mean? What's in between that? What is the reality inside a submarine?
Yeah.
And what is behind all this, you know? If you remember that, all this heroism and things about the submarine weapon and things like, what's the reality? It's a little bit different what we saw before, I think.
Well, I for one certainly enjoyed the film The Boat, and gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for coming along to Imperial College. And we'll
Thank
close
you.
now with another look at a clip from the boat, and this is where the preparations are being made at the port of La Rochelle.
Anything wrong with them? Yes! Starboard propeller plate was bent! Ah, I see! That explains the warning noise at low RPM! That's right, it was a brand new propeller, Captain! Ah, great!
That's our boat.
Route! Stand by for Victor! Ahead! Set! Eyes! Step!
All hands present and accounted for, Captain. Watches at maneuver stations. The boat is clear for sea. Thank you, number one. At ease.
Now comes his speech.
Well, men? All set? Aye, sir! Harbor stations, men.
Some speech, huh?
All in that gangway. Let's go.